Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. Brett's out in the living room. And basically, today we are doing um, commits. We're going to try to commit the latest code. I've got it to a point where we have the code written. We have and then unit tested, and then end-to-end tested. And so it's time to do a commit. Yesterday, I started staging things. Sort of the process is to um, go through and find anything that is try to just do a smell test, right? Just make sure that there's no like stray console logs or something like that that I don't want to get into the code. I guess these ones that are just so you have this little letter there. I guess the U is for untracked. So um, the untracked ones are probably the hardest because um, you kind of have to look at all the lines of code. The modified ones are probably the easiest. The deleted are the easiest because you could just add those. But and this is a massive commit that I just don't know exactly what to like. I don't want to do that again. Um, but I was thinking this morning that like as a developer, I've kind of come to the conclusion that unit tests are probably to the best time to sort of do a very deep dive into the um, like just make sure that you understand every line of code line by line. Um, so uh, so that is important. I mean, so that is what I added like in the unit test. And then I've been thinking about what the next steps are. And my next step is definitely to make the in update mode. So like this has got to be a short video. It's already 8:43, so I kind of have to log off in about 12 minutes to do that to for work. But if you come in here and you go to update and then you resize, um, it's not like this part down here is automatically resizing and readjusting, but the visualization itself is not. So I would definitely like to get that squared away so that this visualization resizes. And it dawned on me this morning that that might be like the perfect time to sort of carve out to evaluate the architecture of the application. Um, so so that is what I'm going to try. So basically, I'm going to just try to look at it from a like, well, I'm trying to do the bug, figure out why I consider that a bug. It probably shouldn't be considered a bug. It probably should be considered a new feature. Like, I don't think since it's not captured in end-to-end testing, I wouldn't. If it was captured in end-to-end testing, I would say it was a bug, right? Because it was something that used to work that doesn't work. Since it wasn't captured in end-to-end testing, it's something that might have worked but doesn't work. Um, but um, but my mindset, and this is like I think something I came up with yesterday, is until it's captured in end-to-end testing, it's not a feature. It's only a feature once it's been captured because you know it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, you're never going to be able to remember all the features in a modern application. So there is that. All right, so we're kind of cranking through these things, everything. Since most of these are sort of brand new and they're not so big, um, or they just got moved. Like a lot of these, like I I sort of have this rule that I try to live by, which says if I have a directory, I start to consider making subdirectories when I have 4 items in them, and then when I have 7, it's absolutely required for me, or 8, 7 or 8, it's absolutely required that I create a new directory. And if I get above 13, then there's no point. We've gone too far. Everything's just too deeply, um, we have just too many dependencies. We won't be able to pull it out. So, I've worked at places where you open up a folder and there's like 500, 1,000 files in there, and there's just nothing you can do at that point. Um, you're gonna have to live with it. It just makes life a little bit more difficult. Um, but and all I'm doing is looking for any sort of thing that just screams, it's what we would have called back in the day a small test. See, the only difference between this and this is the I changed the order of the um, imports. So we move on and on and on. I think we're very close to the end and actually doing the commit and pushing it. I definitely think this application is still pretty solid. There's absolutely, as we kind of get towards the end of the year, I always try to consider whether I want to try to start from scratch again or whether I want to kind of continue it rolling. At this point, my gut tells me that we're going to continue this project rolling. I didn't get nearly as much done as I was hoping in 2025. But like, I definitely underestimated the complexity of this application. So, okay, so we are done. And so what I tend to do on this is I tend to do the commit with the video number on it. So it looks like this is going to be video 310, and it's probably going to be called complete commit. So, so get status. I always do a get status from the command line just to make sure that everything got pulled in. Sometimes if you're in the wrong directory, you might end up with stuff that you don't expect in there or vice versa. Stuff that you thought would be in there isn't in there. So get commit dash m, and this is video 310. So I make one video a day, so that means I've been working on this application for 310 days. I miss a day here or there, so but for the most part, I do it every day for this particular project. Um, what was it? Basically, massive refactor. I do not ever want to do one this big again. It is weird though how it's like 59 changes and it was like 100. Would love to understand that. And I'm guessing, I don't know. That is weird. I don't think it's counting the deletes, maybe. Um, refactor and uh, yeah, no, that's all this was just a massive refactor. So there's two main things that we refactored. One is we went away from like in these. Let's see if I can find an interface. Mm, so weird. Let me go to this view here. Um, So inside of my services interfaces, like if before, and we move these into like ST, and let's go with the three. So these are sort of doppelgangers. And so like we go into camera. And this is not a good one because camera doesn't have any. So let's go into scene. So basically before I think I had an array of meshes. And then I've shifted everything over to where I'm carrying IDs and then maintaining it that way so that I reduce the number of meshes. Um, Basically, I'm trying to avoid memory leaks is what it comes down to. So I think we did the commit. So let's go back over to this view. It should tell us that, yeah, we have one. We're out of sync. So we're going to push that. You might want to think twice before pushing because generally you can't undo. But if I have something screwed up in there, I'm just going to have to fix it. That commit was way too big to deal with. And I mean, I like my commits to be like maybe 10 files, and that was 100 files. So that was too big. So it is 8:51. So the next, so like I believe if I do this, oh no, this is yeah. Um, so actually I don't have anything like this. So if I go here and I add a couple more and then I resize, So it just automatically sort of changes the layout for me. But when I go into this view and I resize, it just, this stays the same. And that, I don't want that. I would like the whole thing to sort of redraw itself and recenter this thing. Um, and and I do know that I have code that is aware of changes. I think I probably, let's see, let's go to the, let's just, it doesn't even matter. Let's close all others because we have way too many tabs open and go over here. So this is the point I think and this is a new for me. I think this is the point where it's time to look at the bug, then look at the architecture, the file structure, and see if we can figure out where I would need to make a change to to do this. So I would assume that at the very top there is a some sort of handler that's set up at the app level. I know that my app contains everything within it. So let's go ahead and look in our, well, let's look in our HTML. Okay, so there's nothing in our HTML that does it, and that doesn't surprise me, but like that was the easiest place to look. Okay, so we have this request, this layout loop. Okay, request animation visualization layout loop. So this acts like it's only about animations. Um, so I do know that like in this view here, these are absolutely positioned. So something is changing the size of those. And there's nothing, let's see if we have a service that says something. Okay, I do have an Angular service and a Viz component service. So I doubt that that was going to be at the Viz component level. It would be at the higher level. Have this app model service. Okay, so this is what figures out if the reflow is on or off. And I know that I only draw things when the reflow is on. So let's see who is getting the reflow, because I know that that's crazy that I wrote that 4 months ago. So that I would call that a fail. Architecturally, the architecture did not tell me where it was at. I wrote the architecture, so it was a fail on my part. But so we have this app menu component, app model service, which we're looking at, and then this app visualization service. So I think that does make sense that it would be in the visualization service. But let's look in here because it kind of seems like we should also have a layout, like maybe along with visualization service, a sibling in is layout, or maybe there should be like a layout service. Doesn't seem like layout would be in entities though. Oh, UI. Yeah, it seems like maybe in UI area it might exist. I don't know. It's a good time to think about stuff like that. So this gets reflow and then I guess it'll recalculate. So it kind of looks like this just calculates the positions, which we don't really need to do that. So it doesn't actually look like we built anything to sort of respond to layouts. So I guess if you think about it, this is kind of like a side effect, right? We're setting the calculation position, and then as a side effect, it gets laid out differently. But it doesn't have it's not a layout specific. It's not listening for layout changes or resize changes or anything like that. Um, so it looks like I just never needed it. So I think, you know, it can easily be forgiven that I haven't built out anything for resizes because um, I am not listening for resizes. I mean, because I haven't needed to listen to resizes. This thing only cares about whether we're reflowing. Now, it does determine the width of the entire vis port, if I remember correctly. Yeah, get next available left. See, I think this thing, get next available left, says get next available right. So something cares about the width of the port. So we kind of need to of the viewport. Um, so we kind of need to figure that out. Let's see. Rightmost visualization, sorted, get rightmost plus the width. Oh, okay. So basically the top, I think. I'm guessing. I'm kind of making this up as I go, but it looks like the top. So the top is what figures out whether we go into to the next line or not. So that's going to have to be the thing that's going to be have to be aware the of the width of the viewport. And basically, we don't want like kind of two different things trying to figure out. Okay, is row available? Okay, so this is probably the thing that figures out. Okay, do I have room for another row? Okay, row has room. Row has room. So determine if the row, get row availability for potential siblings. Viewport width gets passed in right here. So how does this guy know what the viewport width is? So now we got to work backwards. So we worked forward. We've kind of found out who uses this. Now we got to figure out, okay, he doesn't figure that this function doesn't figure it out on its own. So it figures it out from here. It's this guy right there that gets passed in. Okay, so row has room, gets it. Row has room. Viewport width, that gets passed in. Basically, I want to get this viewport width from um, the same place. However I figure it out, I want to get it. And if this is getting the viewport width from like itself or whatever, then I probably need to set something up. So get availability top knows the viewport width. Get this is weird, right? Next left, get availability top. Where are you? Okay, I'm trying to figure out where this guy gets called. He only gets called from one place. Let's see, does this thing passes in a viewport width? Okay, which is a actual variable, what we would call a service class variable. And this is where it gets it. So I would like to move this over the height and that into its own little service that just returns these things. And that's only because now I need this in multiple places. Um, Before I only needed it here, so there was really no reason to kind of separate out a separate place. But basically, I probably want to be able to look at the architecture and determine where with handling happens from. So I'm going to put a comment here. Get this from a service. So that we'll have this in R. So that tomorrow when I'm trying to come up to speed on this, I'll be able to look in here and say, oh, okay, what did I have going on? Oh, okay, I need to get this from a service. So basically we want to create a service that is its job is to return information about the browser. So the viewport width, the viewport height, anything like that, we probably always want to get it from the service. So then, and the only reason we want that is so that we can then go figure out in the future if we want to make some sort of change that is responsive, basic responsiveness change, we'll have sort of a breadcrumb to follow. So that we can kind of look from 30,000 feet and look down at the architecture and say, oh, okay, here's where this is our window, our browser layout survey. We'll have to come up with a name with it for it tomorrow. And we'll have to figure out a good place to put it in the service. We know we want it in the services folder, but we don't know exactly where. Anyways, yeah, it's 9:01, so a minute late to work. I worked a half hour extra yesterday, so I'll definitely. So I don't feel too bad about it, but I definitely need to hop on because I have some important questions to ask today. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.